That's what's happening, and we're broadening this wealth. I mean, we're only a $3.5 trillion asset today. I think we're going to 100 trillion in 10 years. So we're only 3.5% of the way along the journey. This is the biggest, largest redistribution of wealth in all history. It's underway. What was unusual about 2021 was liquidity peaked early because they jammed it in 2020 and then they started taking it out. And it peaked in March. Normally, liquidity peaks in August, September, October, November, which is why the cycles are longer. So that's all I think we need to know is when does the business cycle peak? That's the other thing. I use the ISM survey. When that peaks, the market usually peaks around that. We haven't even got off the bottom yet. So yeah, the ISM is below 50, which means most of the economy is still not even really functioning yet. So we're a long way from this, but I understand people have PTSD, which is like, the best answer for that is take some lifestyle chips off on the journey, but don't trade your whole bag.
Macroeconomics and cryptocurrency entrepreneur Raoul Pal frequently stresses the significance of comprehending long-term market cycles. He suggests that investors should concentrate on patterns that last for the following 10 years, with 2030 frequently acting as a crucial benchmark rather than responding recklessly to short-term volatility. Pal's strategy strikes a compromise between caution and optimism. He emphasizes the possibilities of industries with exponential development, such as cryptocurrency, while highlighting the necessity of diversification and careful risk management. His approach aims to maximize returns over time by rebalancing portfolios, taking profits during market peaks, and reinvesting during declines. Please take a time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications for more financial, macroeconomic, and digital asset content. Thank you and enjoy the video.
So we've been starting to see bananas price rises and all sorts of stuff. And then next year, we get the final swoop where everything goes exponential. And that I've just called the banana zone because it looks like a banana on the chart and everything goes bananas. And it happens every 4 years. And it's kind of the biggest gift that we ever get given is this fucking thing. I remember Anson put out a post, I know it was in 2023, and he's like, I cannot believe we've been given this chance all over again. They give it to us down 75%.
Let us get away with it again.
And we do. It feels like a pre-programmed gift. It's really weird. And yeah, and it works every time. Now, it won't work in perpetuity, but it will continue to work until we figure out a way of getting out the debt issue. If we think about one of the biggest complaints that we've had is like the gatekeepers, the power brokers, the finance system always had the advantage over us. The Web3 companies, they took our data and monetized it. And here it's been given to us. It's like the internet's been given to us and we've got tokens to make us rich out of it. It's like that's what's happening. And we're broadening this wealth. I mean, we're only a $3.5 trillion asset today. I think we're going to 100 trillion in 10 years. So we're only 3.5% of the way along the journey. This is the biggest, largest redistribution of wealth in all history. It's underway. It's all going to come down to liquidity because liquidity is the dominant factor. What was unusual about 2021 was liquidity peaked early because they jammed it in 2020 and then they started taking it out. And it peaked in March. Normally, liquidity peaks in August, September, October, November, which is why the cycles are longer. So that's all I think we need to know is when does the business cycle peak? That's the other thing. I use the ISM survey. When that peaks, the market usually peaks around that. We haven't even got off the bottom yet. So the ISM is below 50, which means most of the economy is still not even really functioning yet. So we're a long way from this, but I understand people have PTSD, which is like the best answer for that is take some lifestyle chips off on the journey, but don't trade your whole bag and try and think in multiple year time horizons. Think about this 2030 time horizon. Say, listen, I've got to be in the technology. I'm going to have drawdowns. I'm not going to do I'm not going to be 100% in meme coins at the end of the cycle. You know, that whole thesis, just be sensible. Everyone will be fine. And if it does have a massive blow off cycle, sure, you can take some more off. But you know, I just don't think trade the cycle. Well, don't forget the fractal is actually driven by the debasement cycle, the everything code cycle. So there's already a fractal that's in place. So then what we're saying is, do people do the same thing every cycle? Yeah, we're humans. We just do the same thing, which is like, okay, well, Solana's gone up a lot. What's next? But also the funding cycle of these massive blockchains means that in 2022, 2023, Sui, Celestia, a bunch of these guys raise a lot of capital. They're serious projects, so then they get developers and they do all of their kind of groundwork, building community, all of that. And then what you see is success or initial signs of success. They're still early, so you don't know, but the initial signs of success. And that's what builds momentum, because the more activity on chain, the more the value of the chain goes up. So it's all driven by something called Metcalfe's law. Metcalfe's law is how to value a network. And it's basically the number of users on the network and the total value transacted on the network. So some networks are lopsided. Doge is the most lopsided network of all. Right, there's no on-chain activity. Nothing is built on it yet. Maybe X will be.
Raoul Pal explores the swift development of blockchain technology, emphasizing its revolutionary uses. He describes how the future is being shaped by ideas such as decentralized autonomous organizations and decentralized financing, DeFi. Frequently, what begins as speculative or experimental can develop into widely accepted solutions. For example, NFTs, which were formerly thought of as straightforward digital collectibles, are now utilized for brand valuation, ticketing, and intellectual property management. Similarly, meme coins show how tokenized communities can link financial incentives with social and cultural movements, even if they may seem completely speculative. These tokens are opening up fresh possibilities for capital growth and value creation. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications before we delve further. Now, let's get back and hear from Raoul Pal himself.
I realized that this was probably the biggest opportunity of all time, which is, I'd reached that conclusion in 2013. But what I realized was everybody's future was so, particularly the millennial cohort, because property prices were too expensive. They were working 3 jobs. The S&P, the markets were expensive. So their future expected returns were terrible, unlike their parents. And I realized, well, this is the one way to unlock the future, was like, we've been given a gift. It's like a literal gift to humanity. You can complain all day about what your life is, but here it is. And it's a globally homogenous, fractionizable asset that works in Bali as it does in the Cayman Islands, as it does in Nigeria, as it does in New York City. We've never had that before. And so everybody, because it's fractionizable, everybody can put 10% of their paycheck in. So you don't get left behind. Because what was happening, the debasing of currency to pay the debts on after the financial crisis, all the massive debts, we keep rolling them, and it requires more interest payments, and they have to keep debasing the currency. So it makes the assets go up optically. Well, really what's happening is they're devaluing the currency. And so everyone's just getting poorer and poorer without realizing it. People are getting angrier, and politics are getting more polarized because everyone's blaming each other. It's like, it's their fault, When the fact is, the fault was having too many baby boomers that competed with each other for labor, investments, all of this. And so I realized this was the one asset. It's doing 150% a year on average, including drawdowns, massive drawdowns. I'm like, this is it. This is the one. So I've really tried to explain to people why it's so important to them. So we're using speculation to create capital formation. That's what financial markets are. This is just a racier version, right? But that's what all capital markets are. So we're creating capital formation. And, the DeSci, I talked about it in the last cycle and said, this is coming. This is a way of getting people together. A DAO is a structure by which you can get together scientists under a financial incentive structure. You could have a token. So we talked about it, didn't happen. Now we're seeing the early stage. By next cycle, it'll be the main thing. And we see this every time. Like I've talked about NFTs for ticketing. We talked about it last cycle. We've seen some people launch this cycle. By next cycle, it'll all be NFT tickets. It just takes time, but what we're doing is testing capital formation ideas in all sorts of ways. One of the things we're looking at Real Vision is tokenized crowdsourced asset management. We're a hive mind. We're all grinding, trying to stress test our ideas, form communities, do stuff. In the end, we've all done pretty well from being part of this big community, and we can completely destroy the asset management industry by decentralizing it. So there's a lot of ideas that get tested. The big thing for meme coins for me is something I was involved in from last cycle, which is social tokens. People didn't really understand it yet. Part of it is like intellectual property, brand and culture doesn't appear on a balance sheet of a company. So it's not really valued. Like Disney, it's like a $90 billion company. What's the cultural value of Disney? $1 trillion, $2 trillion? But they haven't tokenized it. But tokenization allows you to tokenize culture and brand value and stuff like that. And it becomes a tangible on the balance sheet, not an intangible. So I've had this thesis for a while, and this is what meme coins are, is the ability to create community money and incentive systems.
Raoul Pal leaves us with a strong and thought-provoking message, highlighting the unmatched potential of blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies to transform both individual and societal futures. As they negotiate a world with increasing housing prices, stagnant earnings, and limited financial options compared to their parents, he considers the challenges faced by younger generations, especially millennials. Pal sees cryptocurrencies as a gift to humanity in this difficult situation. A decentralized, globally accessible, fractionalized asset class that gives everyone, wherever they may be, the opportunity to take part and accumulate riches. He describes the continuous devaluation of currencies brought on by growing public debt and interest payments, which has resulted in a covert decline in purchasing power and fueled social unrest, political division, and inequality. In contrast, cryptocurrencies offer a lifeline, a safeguard against this devaluation, and a way for people to maintain and increase their wealth. Pal emphasizes the wider ramifications of blockchain technology in developing new models of capital formation, community-driven enterprises, and decentralized organizations, in addition to the financial resiliency of individuals. These innovations, from NFTs transforming ticketing to tokenized communities that connect financial, intellectual, and cultural incentives, are not merely passing trends. Rather, they are the foundation of a new economic paradigm. Pal concludes by highlighting the significance of community-driven finance, which has the potential to upend established sectors, promote inclusivity, and rethink value generation through cooperation, a common goal, and decentralized technologies. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy investing.